Greetings, heroes of Azeroth! Today we're going to talk about the coolest and baddest race within Azeroth. Behold, the light of war! Down to fly the light! I'm the Masked Crusader.
And I'm Masked Crusader's brother. I mean, do I get a name being on here? I'm Aaron. But I think I should have a cool name too.
Well, we could call you, like, you know, the Boy Wonder. That's kind of taken.
Yeah, I will work.
Okay, work.
Yeah, definitely not.
Maybe we can call him Little Mask.
I'm Aaron.
He'll be Little Mask.
Aaron. Well, we'll stick with that. I'm Verzifier.
Yeah, Verzifier.
Yep, I'm actually the co-founder here at Verzifier. In fact, Verzifier was my username for a long time. Let's just cut that part out. It's not about that. Keep going on. So, today, what are we talking about, Masked Crusader?
The baddest race in the Warcraft universe?
Orcs.
Humans.
Orcs.
You're not serious, are you?
Well, they're the most lore-rich race in the World of Warcraft.
They're a bunch of barbarians that invaded a home of good people and killed them.
Yeah, man. Exactly.
They're disgusting. Light burn you.
All right.
Light burn you and all your grave and all your little orc babies.
Okay, wow, that's...
I'm sorry.
Are we going to get to the points? I mean, like, we're going to talk about why orcs are better than humans now is what we're going to turn this into?
Let's jump in. Let's jump in so we can see how much better humans are than orcs.
Okay, so today here on Verzifier, if you didn't get it, we're going to be talking about the lore of war. These are going to be our special episodes devoted to bringing you the best world building and lore for our best warriors in the heroes all across video games, fantasies, all kinds of writing stuff. Anywhere there's that, we're going to be covering it.
Absolutely. We're excited to jump in here and really just kind of, theorize with you and also share some fun insights.
No, there's no theories. Orcs are better than humans.
Okay, I meant for our next videos, okay?
Oh,
we obviously know humans are better. Let's just
all right, so as you can see, this is an age-old debate. Orcs and Humans is actually the title of the first game in this Warcraft series, the world we come to know as Azeroth. And the history behind that is actually a little bit different. I mean, they're not the orcs and humans that we know today of, like, in the game series, if you're familiar with World of Warcraft. They actually started from Warhammer, right?
They did. It was kind of fun. I was at a Games Workshop store, and this guy comes up and he looks awesome. He looks like a Viking. He's got like Thor's hammer, and he starts telling us all this lore. I say, hey, I love Warhammer, I love Warcraft. And he's like, did you know? I think it was in the 80s. It was either the 80s, early 90s, 70s. There was a starter set you could get in Warhammer for the Imperials of the Empire, or you could get the Orcs. And originally, Games Workshop. It had to be 90s, that's right, because Blizzard's 90s. So we got the time period, it's 90s. Anyway, so Games Workshop contacts Blizzard, right, and they said, hey, we want you guys to make a game. And so originally, it's kind of funny, the whole concept between orcs versus humans was going to be Warhammer, Empire versus the orcs.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Warhammer, you're more of just a strictly Blizzard Warcraft gamer. It was a tabletop series about war and strategy, kind of like really advanced chess, where you set up your own models, based really heavily on Lord of the Rings with their own artistic style. Then there was that falling out between the company of Blizzard and the owners of Warhammer, and that's where Warcraft was born. In fact, one of the creators, Samwise Didier, one of the most infamous creators of the World of Warcraft, proud Horde supporter,
for the Horde,
came up with the name Warcraft during like lunch or something. He stands up and yells Warcraft, and that's how
it was great.
This entire genre, which really has deviated from the orcs and the Imperials that we see in the Warhammer universe.
Big time. Massive differences.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that lore today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's jump into, let's start with our noble humans of Stormwind, right? What's their symbol? It's the lion. The first thing we think of, proud, majestic, bold. Proud, majestic, bold, resourceful. I don't see any T words in there, okay? So, that's the concept of the humans, right? They're actually kind of cool. They're descendants of demigods, the creators of the earth, and they were actually kind of
the rejects.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. They were the rejects of the demigods, and how cool, because right. This demigod race has this other race, and then they kind of, they're not as strong. These races called the Vrykul, they're like a race of giants. So they flee their land, they settle in Azeroth, Eastern Kingdoms, And then you have these runts and these sickly ones, but they end up becoming super resourceful. They're smart. They're determined.
Not quite unlike humans in real life, the runts, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So cool enough. They're also one of the first ones that actually discovered a magical power source in the universe called the Holy Light, which is it's a power source that it's built by belief, and you can heal or you can smite enemies. And they were actually the first race on Azeroth to discover that special magic.
Yeah, the world building in Warcraft kind of took a turn from the typical kind of Catholic-esque fantasy standard and what do they call it? Trope? Yeah, the trope of the church and whatnot. Where the light wasn't really a religion, it was more like, I mean, it was, but it's a magical source like the Force from Star Wars.
I was going to say, yeah, I was actually about to bring that right up. Like, honestly, it was kind of fun because, they have kind of these classical medieval, right, church buildings, but when you go into the light itself, it's very much the Force.
And
right?
energy surrounds us, binds us, whatever Obi-Wan said. So, yeah.
Exactly. Do or do not. There is no try when it comes to quoting movies. We tried.
We tried. We failed.
Tried. We did. Okay,
we
we
failed.
failed.
Well, moving on. I mean, we got a little background into the humans, and it's not quite typical. I mean, that's pretty cool that taking what we are and giving them a different background than maybe what we
kind of making them the
imagined.
underdogs too.
Mm-hmm. But the orcs, I mean, where they come from and what makes them so unique is that I think that Warcraft really has expanded on what a traditional orc is. In the Lord of the Rings, the movies and whatnot, and in the books, orcs are like these stunted, short, crooked-legged, deformations of humanity. They even come from elves, where they're twisted and tortured into these monsters. And the name orc, Tolkien had to clarify in one of his writings, it doesn't come from orca. So it's not a whale.
No, it's not Free Willy. Sorry, Wee Willy fans. We're not talking
obviously.
About
anyway, it came from a quote from Beowulf where they were mentioned along ogres and trolls, the orcs. And then you have the Warhammer kind of adapting the Lord of the Rings idea of an orc, of these monsters, and they have their own art style. Warcraft continued with the art style, but they deviated into this deep race that has a conflicted background. They were once peaceful and shamanistic, twisted by these demonic forces and energies that were beyond their control. They have a really awesome story and compelling narrative of going from innocence to corruption to redemption and back to that heritage that they had. And obviously making them one of some of the baddest warriors ever. I mean, they're 7 foot tall and honor bound, and man, war and conflict is just born and bred in the orc philosophy, and that's why they win all their battles.
Yeah, they cheat, and then we beat them with superior technology, tactics, and determination and faith. Anyway.
So actually the orcs invaded Azeroth. They're actually from their distant world called Draenor. And through this portal, created from the fell energies and leaders known as warlocks among the orcs, they invade the human lands, and kind of unlike what Masked Crusader is inciting, they actually win the battle against the humans in a twist of fate. So,
yep. It's okay. The next game we come and we spank their butts all the way back. We chase them back through the portal. And anyway, so it's okay. They got a little taste of victory, and then at that point we just, with the Holy Light, the
waters are muddled on who won in the second war.
Well, it's not muddled. It's pretty obvious who won in the second war. Just saying, humans. So going forward here, kind of the fun traits of the Alliance. Some fun history is when the humanity first kind of the grunts were first kind of starting out, and they discovered the Holy Light. There's a group of high elves in the north, and they were being attacked by the Troll Empire, and they called for the humanity for aid. And these are the pompous kind of arrogant. We're doing high elves, and they're magically inclined. And so humanity's like, yeah, sure, we'll jump in. Can you teach us magic in exchange for our help? So they end up teaching the humans magic, and it's kind of cool because first they discover the light, they're resourceful, they're kind of getting their foot in, and now they discover magic. And they begin to make these alliances with the other races on the land, and they help them fight off the trolls. So just kind of humanity's resourcefulness and how fast they are, especially in the lore, how they adapt and move forward is really cool.
I do find it interesting how well Blizzard, the writers there collectively, have adapted such a typical story of monsters and men, knights in shining armor, and the classical wizards into like having that rich background. Like, you know, humans, where did they get magic? Where did they learn it? Elves are always associated in fantasy with being these kind of ethereal, magical beings, and just kind of cool to see that tie in a little more closely. And then like the orcs, having this dark magic that wasn't really explained in the original game, going back to like these demonic space forces that were out there that were called the Burning Legion.
Very unique, by the way.
And corrupting their original worship of nature and allyship with the nature spirits. And they've had some interesting like ideas with the original idea in the World of Warcraft of a Death Knight. Well, now that's this dark frost looking, when I say frost, the icy looking frozen warrior. Originally it was like a re-embodied knight of a paladin possessed by an orc, a fallen orc. So they were really, we see the orcs turn from like the typical monster in fantasy to having this rich background, and it's kind of lost on the men. I will admit the humans, not men. The humans of Warcraft a little bit more than on the orcs, the unique twist that Blizzard's given them.
Yeah, to a degree. Kind of speaking of Death Knights is, like, I love paladins, okay? Like, I'll be making videos down the road here about, like, you know, the Warcraft lore on different classes and things, but I love the paladin because this is kind of a fun little side history thing. When humans first discovered the light, they had clerics, right? And they wore cloth to really kind of focus their energy more to fight against, right, the horde.
Yeah, typically in fantasy, people who use magic for whatever reason aren't very armored.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of lore. People create like ideas like, well, maybe it inhibited magic or something, just to kind of balance out the rules or something. So not everyone can use it.
Exactly. So to combat this, what they did in the Second War is they took a bunch of warriors, armored knights, and then they taught them how to use the holy light. And so they become these plate-wearing juggernauts that are able to heal and smite their enemies with their swordsmanship. Absolutely love that. Paladins, I'm just going to be honest, they're the baddest, coolest class ever.
And they're
yes, I know in Classic we don't talk about them, but hey, just saying from a lore perspective, these guys are just saying.
Right, paladins are almost as good at using warhammers as orcs are when using legendary weapons like the Doomhammer. And I will admit, the idea of a paladin is pretty cool. A lot of it comes from characters like Captain America, having that character and moral ethic, you know.
There's an ability in game actually where they have a shield throw. It's literally based off Captain America.
And speaking of based off like characters from Marvel, even though this is more Norse mythos again, like just like Beowulf, we've got the orc shaman. Those spirit natures often like manifest in ways like Thor. So like they've taken really the baddest warriors ever and adapted them to the orc culture. We've got like shamans who use their massive hammers and lightning or whatever weapons that they choose to use to get that really cool Thor effect. And then mix that in with characters such as Blade Masters, who we don't really see much anymore in recent story and game.
Real shame.
But basically, that came about because the same fellow we were mentioning earlier, Samwise Didier,
for the Horde.
Start saying his name wrong. He was role-playing, playing some D&D, and he had a half-orc with the katana. And we get these samurai-like figures, these masters of these blades that come from one of the many varied orcish clans. We've got all kinds of ideas. Like, really, the Blizzard Entertainment, the writers have said, hey, if it's a warrior, throw it at the orc culture and see how it blends and fits in.
Yeah.
So that's why I really resonate with these fighters who are flawed, who, you know, they can be angry, but in the end of the day, an orc has got your back. You know, they're noble allies and friends to those who are with them and who have honor. I mean, there's some excellent writing with the orcs, man.
They really did. When they're not bloodthirsty, they're full of demonic magic. They're great.
They're sometimes even great when they're bloodthirsty and full of demonic magic. Take Grom Hailscream.
Yeah, it turned out real well.
Real well.
Yeah,
real
it did. Well. Totally lost your ability to ally with a future race because you,
Takes a real man to cut all ties from, you know, the weaker of your factions.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. He was, you know, he was actually told by another orc that, you know, what he did wasn't too good. Just saying, you know. And this orc happened to be, you know, he came from like a young girl took care of him. You know, his backstory. And,
yeah, there are those orcs who are not as cool, but you know, we love them still too. You know, the little docile orcs are.
You know, I guess
not
we could
as
say,
ferocious.
you know, yeah, that's right. You know, I guess we could, you know, we could say the, you know, the same thing about the humans. But I don't know, Arthur Smith was pretty, you know, big deal.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty cool when they actually do something awesome like Arthur Smith and become the main villain for the next
Yeah.
couple games.
Yeah. I guess here, you know, kind of another fun thing about, you know, just I guess kind of a hit up on the Alliance was, I guess their technology too. I think we again we kind of see Warhammer coming in the Warcraft universe with technology and humans' adaptability. So, like for example, in the first war, the humans had catapults, you know, bows, and then as they kind of ally with the dwarves, they get this technology with cannons. We even see things like tanks and airships, which is really really cool in a fantasy setting. So that's another aspect. I thought that was kind of cool. You know,
Yeah, it is
that.
interesting writing. I mean, even just from a game standpoint, you could say like, well, we add this in to get new graphics, you know, to add more features to the game. But it really is cool to see the evolution to start from this typical sword and shield, sword and sorcery story to evolving, and you see the technology evolve to where in future games we even start delving into time travel magic, and when we take that technology, go back in time, we have what is called the Iron Horde of Orcs who use that technology and to like terrible effect to become these great conquerors. And it's just interesting that they have kept a pretty steady like progression. Technology hasn't like just been thrown in there. It has progressed pretty well for a video game. I mean, with gameplay first and narrative second, I feel like they've done a really cool job with that.
Yeah.
Like seeing how the structures in warfare has evolved in the game and in the series through books and the game.
For sure, for sure.
One of the orcs' most favorite weapons is actually the battle axe. It's one of their most iconic just because of their size. Battle axes, war hammers, that's always been very famous in Orcish culture.
Yeah. For humanity, it's pretty cool. You know, it's been two things. One, the hammer. You know, that comes from paladins, and if you're a D&D player, clerics always have the hammer. And then the other one is actually swords, which is awesome. I mean, here's a lot of sword. I mean, everyone
that's
think of
pretty
Vandurell,
iconic.
and yeah, sword is exactly very iconic. So those have kind of been there too. They're two iconic weapons. Speaking of one of humanity's kind of faith and their determination, we talked about this already. Lothar, Anduin Lothar. We talked about him.
Did we?
Maybe we didn't.
Did we? Anduin Lothar, the paladin.
He actually was a paladin, funny enough. During the first war, it was the second war. This is the second war. They were having a battle with the orcs on like a kind of volcanic area. It's called Black Rock. And the orc leader had thought, all right, let's, Orc of Doomhammer, let's kill the top dog of the Alliance, and that'll break him. Because, you know, we took Stormwind, if we killed him, he, you know, right they're going to get scared, whatever. So he ends up dueling Lothar, and he does defeat him. I can't remember, I don't think he cheated. There might have been a warlock in the background. I'd have to double check that, so we'll just say he won for now.
He won.
And then, so he kills Lothar, and instead of kind of dimming humanity's light, they actually get just this result of no more. It's so cool. Like they
Finally stepping up to the plate.
well, you know, they have with the trolls. You know, you just kind of got the sneak on us with that little dark portal in the background. By I took one of our own
Do what you
to
have
get
to
them.
win.
You know, to get these guys through the
Strike
portal.
hard, strike fast.
Yeah, those darn wizards.
No mercy.
Darn warlocks. But yeah, it was kind of a cool situation where humanity ends up winning the battle, when in reality, the orcs thought, oh, if we take out the head, then they'll fall.
Interestingly enough, this character that we were just talking about, Orgrim Doomhammer, who really heralded that Thor kind of esque, started all that.
Yeah, he really did.
You know, he actually is so interesting. This is the turning point for the orcs in the lore when we deviated from the enemies of the game, the bad guys. Because he actually led a coup on the warlock leaders, these kind of enslaving their race with their dark magic, and in turn that starts the entire domino effect, so to speak, of the orcs eventually reclaiming their heritage and becoming something so much more than they have been in any other fantasy world, even to this point. Like, orcs have never been so established, and I think that we're seeing that more and more in recent stories and in games. How orcs and humans, this is where it all started.
Yeah.
Is these two forces colliding with each other, these two iconic
Old Warhammer
characters.
game. You know?
And now we're seeing that they're the best of frenemies. That like after all this time, that cycle is kind of being broken, and we're seeing more respect for the orcs and humans. And really, they are the two races who lead the charge against these great forces out there of
Oh,
evil.
yeah.
These
Burning Legion, Old Gods. You know?
and so when they really work together, it's the power of Azeroth comes together, and like
Yeah.
and it's just really cool to see that, especially in the modern stories and cinematics.
Yeah, it is really cool to kind of get this nobility with this kind of barbaric honor system. It's really cool when they do team up.
It's kind of like me and you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of yeah. Best of enemies, I guess?
Best frenemies.
Yeah. Best enemies. I like it. That was awesome. Well, hey. Thank you guys for tuning in to our little spill on, the best race in Warcraft. Orcs and humans, I guess.
This is going to be our very first episode of what we're calling tentatively Lore of War. So if you want to get more in depth on the world building and the faces and stories behind these great warriors and stories, we're going to have a lot more videos on the way with the two of us. Could have a little bit more versus action in there too, because I have the best of opinions, and we need to make sure that's heard.
And there's a reason why I've been on all the videos and he hasn't. So.
My face has been on all the videos. Somebody else wears a mask.
Oh.
Staying safe during this pandemic.
Anyone tell them to take their face off. Hey, I had a mask before it was cool. Okay. All right. Just saying.
All right. Well, leave a comment about who your favorite race was and how they have evolved within the game. What are some of your favorite stories and cultures, world building and warriors? We want to know.
Yeah.
And who would win, orcs versus humans?
You decide. Big humans.
Loktar.
Light be with you. Catch you guys next time.